get a computer that, you can record on Zoom, whatever it is, and just rock it. So the next day I get all the stuff, Amazon Prime, ship it all in here, hook it all up, and then bam, 8 episodes in a row, just hammering them out. And now here we are talking again. So 100 in 100 days, we're definitely doing it. Welcome back to the Prospecting Show, where each week we talk about tips, tricks, and methods for growing an amazing small business pipeline. I'm your host, Dr. Connor Robertson, and on this podcast, you can expect segments on communication, sales, prospecting, and closing. Thank you to everyone who has supported my 100 episodes and 100 days goal going into 2020. Enjoy the show. Oh yeah, just setting the mood. Yeah, there we go. I just want to breathe it in. Good stuff. So let me mute. I don't want any phones ringing here. So let me.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Because it happens every time for me.
Dude, I've been there, my man.
I'm like right in the middle. I had one of my, I think episode 4 that I recorded, right in the middle of it, phone goes off. I'm like,
really?
Like, what am I gonna do? So all right, let's rock it.
All right, man. So I think we are recording. And dude, so man, this is one of those things where I'm freestyle conversation, and I'm really excited to see you in this space. I got to tell you this, like you're one of those guys once we first linked up. So let me try to set the whole theme for the actual podcast for the audience, right? Yeah, so we got Linkley tied in through Keith, right? Went out to Pittsburgh for like a couple business meetings. You were free. You happened to be free. You actually made yourself free. How you rock and roll now. Met me down at the hotel, had a couple beers really quick. And then I could quickly tell, it was like within the first 15 minutes, I'm like, all right, this guy's going to be a rock star in our space. So the coolest part about it is that you were in healthcare first. Now you're transitioning into this B2B, marketing, sales, dominant role, which is rare, that I definitely want to talk about. That's going to be a big part of this conversation, because healthcare is not known for producing quality B2B sales guys. Let's just say that, right?
Definitely, yeah.
But now you're podcasting as well, and you've been trying to do like 100 episodes within like what?
100 days. Yeah, 100 days. Yeah, 100 episodes in 100 days. And that goal came from, let's spin the story for the people listening as well. So you did that sales culture interview with Linda. And she goes, oh, I love the podcast. Didn't turn out well. You guys are going to redo it, whatever. But she said, oh, this is pretty cool. And she asked me, she said, hey, can you help me do this? And I said, well, if I'm going to help you do it, I better know what I'm doing first. So I just jumped out there, called you, said, hey, how do I do this thing? What do I need? You go, get the Anchor app, get a microphone, get some headphones, get a computer that, you can record on Zoom, whatever it is, and just rock it. So the next day I get all the stuff, Amazon Prime, ship it all in here, hook it all up, and then bam, 8 episodes in a row, just hammering them out. And now here we are talking again. So 100 in 100 days, we're definitely doing it.
Shit, Connor, I'm loving it, man. So Dr. Connor Robertson, welcome to the podcast, my man.
Thank you so much.
I mean, man, you know what, man? So I love the fact that you don't really hesitate. That's something that I learned really quick about you, is that you don't need a lot of, details and facts. I'm like, look, this stuff is simple. Podcasting is simple. It's just people talking. It's back to the basics, right? That's one of the beauties of kind of using this actual tool. But before we dive into that weeds, because I know we both got a lot to kind of jam on that, give people a little bit of your background, origin story. How did you get into healthcare in the first place?
So to jump back to 2008, I was playing super competitive hockey up in Canada, which is where I grew up. I got hit from behind, head first into the boards, broke my spine. Wow. All right. And everyone goes, wow, that's crazy. Right. So 6 to 8 months of rehab there. First orthopedic guy I see, he says, no matter what happens, never see a chiropractor. I said, all right. So then what I did is I said, well, if he says don't do this, just my nature, we're definitely doing it. Right. So I get out 6 to 8 weeks to start of kind of just doing nothing, sitting at home, taking Percocets, just, glued to the chair. Horrible experience. Would never recommend it for anyone else. Go back to the ortho guy. He's like, oh yeah, we could probably, probably start getting you into some rehab, PT, whatever. He's like, but don't go to the chiropractor. So I said, we're going to the chiropractor. So I go there. First adjustment I ever had. Twice. One on the first meeting, then when I come back for the follow-up, he says, definitely don't do this. So I had to do it. So I go to see the chiropractor, gives me a couple light adjustments. This is right after I broke my back. So this was, probably 3 months later, just started to heal up, light adjustments, instrument adjusting. So something really gentle for anyone of any age. And I was like, this is what I want to do. So after that, fast forward, chiropractic school, come from Canada to the US, go to New York, go to chiropractic school, practice for 2 years, and then go, wait a second, I love sales. The healthcare market definitely needs people who are in the B2B prospecting space.
Yeah.
And with sales culture alone, I go to all these trade shows or see these different vendors, and I'm like, great product, horrible marketing. How can I match those two together? So what I did is I just showed up, talked to a few different people, and started working on our prospecting system. And interestingly enough, the prospecting tool that we created, which helps generate B2B leads, is the reason Keith and I met.
Oh, so all right, cool. So now I'm getting some history, and I'm getting some actual, backstory on like Keith here a little bit too. So
yeah,
you started this prospecting tool, and then you and Keith linked up.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. So I was still in practice at this time. So I was practicing, seeing 50, 60, 70 visits a day, working 10, 12 hours a day, even on the weekends. And I'm like, I got to do something in the evenings to try and grow my network, grow the people I'm working with, and get some new connections. So I start building out this tool, some email, some text message, direct message, LinkedIn, everything I got. And I connect with Keith. And I'm trying to sell him another product that I'm side hustling too. And he goes,
what was the other product?
It was like a chiropractic vibration type device, soft tissue device, capital equipment, about $5,000. Guy I was working with was making it. And so I basically, went in there and tried to sell it to him. And he said, I don't like the product, but I like you. Yeah. I have a client in Atlanta next week. I'm going to be down there teaching. Fly down and meet me. So I jump on a plane. I work 8 o'clock on Friday night, jump on the plane at night, fly over, land, meet him and his client. All right.
Yeah.
And then we're like, we got to do something together. So we figure out all this immigration stuff because I had to change all my papers and all, because I wasn't going to be a physician anymore. I was going to be a consultant. It's a different category. So I fly down, meet him. We do the deal. I come back up and he says, we got to work together. We got to come up with a partnership. We got to come with some way to work together. And we said, boom, done. Within 30 days, we started working together.
Love it, man. I love it. And you know what? Full transparency out to the actual audience as well. I love the actual product myself. That's why me and you got linked up and we started really working together. I was like, man, this is going to be great for the team. Me being a sales guy, knowing that one of the biggest problems, if you're good at sales, right? Let's assume that person already has decent sales. Right. And so if you got that part down, one of the hardest parts is trying to fill your actual pipeline. You cannot get in front of enough people if you are a real closer. And so the top of the funnel issues, and I was like, oh, you can automate this process for us in a way that's not like some just, some like robotic looking feel, where you just got like, you're just blasting out 10,000 people and everybody knows it and you get knocked out.
Yeah.
I've been there. This is such a smoother process. So sorry. Cool. Right. So you kind of laid this out. You and Keith are pretty straightforward with each other because you guys are both sharpshooters. I get that. And healthcare is desperately in need of something like this.
Right.
I mean, I would say the B2B SaaS guys, those guys do a pretty decent job. All the guys out of the Valley and everything else, they kind of laid it out to have a pretty good sales structure. But healthcare, this is foreign. This is like foreign virgin territory for lots of these businesses. So what type of gaps are you seeing within the healthcare sales and marketing?
Yeah, this is a good question. I actually was just starting to record a little segment on this the other day. So here's the big gap, all right? Yeah. They have a budget. So you got a product, you have a service, whatever it is, and you have a budget. And you say, this budget's for marketing. And then the first thing everybody does is they go, let's do trade shows. So they take their whole team, they take 3 or 4 guys, they spend $6,000 to go to the trade show, plus hotels, plus food, plus flights for like 3, 4, 5, 6 guys, whatever it is to come to the booth, right? And that's without any other marketing. So they go, let's spend 5 to 10K a pop. We're going to spend 60 G's a year to go do marketing. And then they have no strategy before the event, no strategy during the event, no strategy after the event. And then at the end of the year, when they do their Q4 report or end of year report, and they go, I'm not even sure if this worked. And so they start right back at the beginning again, and they don't know anything else. So the next year, going into 2020, for example, they do the same thing because that's all they know. And they don't know there's a different way. So what we did is we basically set out there and said, this is what people are doing. Trade show, tons of money on Facebook. And here's the problem with Facebook. It's a consumer audience. You are not going to sell a 10, 15, 20, 30, 50, $100,000 product on Facebook. It's not going to happen. It's the wrong audience. If you're selling a trinket, a roll of tape, something small that the consumer can buy, Maybe. The price of Facebook's going through the roof right now, and the cost of advertising is ridiculous. So for us, we developed a platform that says, I don't care how many sales guys you have. You could have one guy or you could have 100 guys. We have a solution for you that's by sales rep per month. So instead of having to sit there and say, how much do we spend on Facebook? All you do is you come to us and you say, I want to put this product in front of these people at this time with this sales rep. Done. Problem solved, right? Now it's up to you to be a killer out there and make sure that you get the job done with selling stuff, right? We cannot make people better salespeople, but what we can do is shorten that gap between trade shows and cold calls, because no one likes doing either of them, right? They just suck. So this is an opportunity for people to do both of those. And at the end of the day, individuals like yourself who have a really good personality around the sales process are going to be very successful. And that's just the way it is.
Man, you know what, man? It was one of those things that I clearly got it. As soon as you talked about it for less than 5 minutes, I was like, oh, boom, done.
Yeah.
I mean, and trade shows, you know what's so funny? So, and I'll be honest about this. I've done trade shows very half-hearted, just kind of come into them. Okay, I'll book the show, do them. I got to tell you, one thing that I've really flipped now. I'm like, okay, you know what? I don't like going. Let's just be clear about it. I don't like leaving on the weekends because I'm on the weekend.
Yeah.
I don't like leaving my wife so I can leave SoCal sunny. And there's smog and a whole bunch of homeless people, but still, it's cool. I don't want to leave it, So I got to hop on the bird, go to some place like Wyoming that I don't really want to go. In the middle of the winter. But I'm like, damn it, if I'm going to go, I might as well just dominate this show.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I've been trying to implement is being an actual podcast host at the shows. So it just elevates my presence and I can add value back up front. But I know that you have some skill sets when it comes to helping salespeople really understand how they can really rock out a show. Do you mind diving into them?
Yeah. So there's some really simple ones, actually. Yeah. First of all, the number one thing I'd always say at the trade show is think about who the audience is and pre-sell. If you're going to a trade show and have no idea who you're talking to, when you're talking to, or what you're talking about, you're up shit's creek without a paddle going backwards, right? So here's what you got to do. Step number one, make sure you know who's going to be there. Get the list of the vendors, get the list of the other, members that are going to be there, whatever it is, figure out who's there and do some homework. Number two, connect with those people on LinkedIn ahead of time. Go out there, tell them, hey, I'm going to be at this show. Let's link up. It's not that hard. Hammer out 100 messages yourself if you want. I don't care. Yeah. Do it before the show so that you're prepared and maximized. Two, when you're there, talk to people. Don't just sit there on your phone like I see with everybody else and hammer down. You're spending money to be there. Talk to the people who want to buy the stuff you have. Mm-hmm. That's so simple to do, right? Step three, when you're there, collect the leads. What we do is two different ways to collect leads. Way one, geofence. What we do is we bomb the crap out of phones with advertising on Facebook. Even though Facebook's a consumer platform, we put it only on cell phones. Every single person in the room gets our Boots ad for the next 3 days. Go 150,000 impressions. It'll cost you probably $250 to $300. You already spent the money for the trade show. Just spend the extra to get it there. Put it on everybody's phone. Step number two, when you capture their leads, don't scan their badges, which is what everybody does. You spend $250 to get a badge scanner and scan it, and nobody really cares. They just go, oh yeah, scan my badge. Okay, yeah, relax, right? So instead of that, we create a form, first name, last name, cell phone, email, a form on your phone. You get people to fill it out. It does two things. First, it eliminates the people who are just tire kickers. And two, you can have multiple touch points. You can text them. We text them right away. Hey, Jim, Joe, whoever it is, thanks for coming by the booth. I wanted to give you this piece of value up front. Here's our product. Here's what it solves. And here's how it can help you. We text them as they're leaving away from the booth. Automated. We do that. Then we follow them up with emails and text messages. So those are quality leads. And then at the end of the show, you have a list of 150 people who actually want to talk instead of these badges that you just randomly scan throughout the show. Give me your badge. It's like, it's crazy. I mean, that's what we do.
I mean, man, you know what? Having that actual conversation does help qualify. I mean, like
100%.
I think that's the part that people kind of miss. Okay, scan the badge is almost like, swipe my debit card. Yeah. You will get a couple hits, but the guys that walk over some cash, they're in, right? And so if someone stops and actually says, hey, I'm going to fill out this form, and while they're filling it out, why not ask about their life and understand who they are a little bit? So you have some context once you do hit them up. I mean, man, that's how you separate it, right?
That's exactly it. And you have to know where to start on the list. I don't care how big or small of an organization is. There's no way you can prioritize everybody. There has to be some focus. So if you have a list of 400 people that you just badge scanned randomly, just running around with your scanner at the booth scanning people, you have no idea who to call, right? It's like Pokemon. You got to catch them all. You're just slamming this thing around all day trying to get it done. You got to be focused, right? If you want something, you got to be focused on it. So that's why we build out those forms and then have a real conversation. Do a podcast with them, do an interview, find out what they actually want. Maybe they don't want what you have. So why would you waste your time selling them that particular product if it doesn't fit their needs? But that's what they do.
I mean, Doc, man, you know what's cool about you too, though, man, is that you understand what these guys are trying to accomplish. Like the people that, because you were on the other side of the table, you were the guy getting pitched, right?
Yeah.
And you know, one of the misconceptions I would say in our space, because it's like health, like, oh, it's so woo woo, nobody making any money, we just gonna get everybody healthy. Right. And it's true. I mean, nobody would do this if they weren't in it for helping out the inpatient, or if they didn't believe that what they were doing wouldn't have any positive results in their life. But what do you see people doing in the healthcare space, especially around the sales and marketing end, where they're like, man, they're coming to you and they're not doing blank? I mean, obviously trade shows are dropping the ball from not doing the pre-sales and follow up, but whenever they get in front of the person, like what's some, just trying to think of some areas, the ways that we can make this whole industry better, really. Yeah.
So I think the actual concept of a strategy is like, it sounds simple, but people don't do it. So here's what I hear when I do either sales calls or consulting calls or whatever it is. People go, you know, I ask them, I say, what are you doing for marketing right now? And they go, two things. I don't know. Or I do X just because. So Facebook, I do Facebook. Okay. Well, what do you do on Facebook? Oh, I don't know. Yeah. Well, so now you're telling me you're spending $4,000 to $6,000 a month on something you don't know what it is. To me, that seems like a bad idea, right? It's okay to say there's someone else on our team that manages that. But even if you're the CEO, the COO of a small organization, or a sales manager or a director, still have an idea of what your strategy is, right? Our goal is to have 50 social media posts a year on LinkedIn and X number of, posts over here. Like, you got to have some strategy around it, and then look at how does that drive sales, right? And the people that lose every single time are the people who think, I put an ad up and money just comes in the door. That's not how it works. The goal of the ad is to get on the phone, and the goal of the phone is to educate them to get in the office. Once you're in the office, you can create that value with them and say, I have a solution to your problem. It's going to help you in 3 different ways: better clinical results, more money, and ideally save you time or be a service that can be delegated. Those are the 3 things that people care about, right? As a physician, I don't care if you're a pain management, standard kind of run-of-the-mill medical doctor like a family physician, or if you're a chiro or PT, it doesn't matter. Everybody wants those 3 things: better clinical results, less time spent on things, and ideally more money, because who doesn't like going to Maui, in December?
Why
right?
not?
So those are the 3 things, right? So that's, if you could solve those 3 problems, which sound very simple and kind of generic, then you will win every single time.
But you know what though, man? Simple wins though. I mean, because people don't want to think of a brand new concept. They don't want to have to go outside the lanes and have to reinvent something that's ridiculous. That's beautiful. So thanks for kind of diving into those 3, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, so all right, we're getting close to the brand new year. 2020's here. Sounds nuts. I feel like we should be in flying cars already.
Yeah.
I mean, so tell me, like, what's going on for 2020? What type of things are you seeing in the whole atmosphere, especially around marketing and like
yeah. So we're seeing this. We're seeing some crazy stuff on social. So one of the big things is Twitter. Twitter is like,
Twitter's back, huh?
No, it's not back. It's going down. It's going down. Twitter's like phasing out, right? So the question is, there's always been this kind of 3 up top, right? Before, really, right? You got Facebook, you got Instagram, you have YouTube, which were kind of like the top 3 pillars. And then you had Twitter, which was like this fringe kind of, it was great for a while, but it's been kind of going down over time, right? And then you got LinkedIn, which is in the business space. Let's just leave that over there for a second. What you're going to see in the consumer space is TikTok. 100% TikTok will exceed Instagram. This is on air, right? So TikTok is going to exceed Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn combined, guaranteed. Mark my words, 2 years or less.
Damn,
guaranteed.
Man. Damn.
That's where it's going.
So are you on TikTok? Are you
Not
playing
yet.
around?
Not yet. I'm watching to get strategy before I go all in, because I got to learn something a little bit before I do it. Even though I am an action guy, I can't just go running around doing everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you're going to see huge uptick in TikTok. And the second thing, almost 40%, I think maybe the numbers are higher now, 40% of Americans listen to a podcast at least once a week. Podcasting through the roof. Easy to record, not too difficult to edit. Lots of people on it here. Like, look at how we're jamming right now. Super simple to do. TikTok and podcasts are going to be the next biggest thing. And I think you're going to see LinkedIn's really going to take a surge in the next 6 to 12 months here, because people are realizing if you want to get business done, trade shows are not the only way anymore.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
I love both of those, man. So I'm on TikTok and I'm seeing the actual crazy amount of growth that's really happening there. The part that got me is that when I started playing around on it, distribution became easy. Yeah. Like you can distribute to all the other platforms seamlessly. And I'm like, oh shit, these guys want to run distribution. That's what they're, I mean, because
that's the model. That's exactly the model.
That's the model,
that they're going for. And what about Anchor, right? Let's flip the cards here. Let's go back to podcast. Anchor, distribution platform. Yeah, you can record. Yeah, you can do all these other things, but it's all about how can you distribute to all these other networks. Let's go Spotify, Google Podcast, whatever it is. It's going out. So same thing for TikTok. That's a distribution network for audio and video. You got Anchor, which is distributing audio podcast across multiple platforms, and they're adding platforms every week, man. Like this, it just keeps popping up. So distribution's king. And let's talk advertising, right? At the end of the day, advertising is only as good as the audience you're putting it in front of. That's 100%. Straight up. So where is the new advertising going to be? Consumer, it's going to be TikTok. Business is going to be podcast. 100%. It's going to be all podcasts. It's going to be audio blurbs, 15-second cuts, little intros, affiliate cuts. It's going to be all these different kind of shootouts that are going to happen. And then people are going to cross-market that with Anchor and cast out to Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube as secondary sources, right? And maybe if you're recording a video session of it too, then you're going to have a video ad thrown in there too. 100%. That's where it's going.
Dude, podcast advertising is nuts right now. I mean, and there's a couple different angles with this. And I'm going to throw out my actual theory to you because I want your honest feedback with it, right?
Sure.
So one of the things that has blown me away about podcast ads is the fact that podcast guesting, in particular, like us doing this, right? If we have the right audience that's engaged, and that's up to the actual podcast to kind of do that, but assuming, I have a great audience, people actually like me, you come on my show, people that follow me, listen about sales and marketing, they're going to have, you could siphon off my actual audience easily here. People fall in love with you. People will say, oh, Connor's awesome. He knows his shit as well. I want to check out his podcast, right? Because you got the whole, prospecting show that you're doing right now. So that's like major for you. But what I'm seeing from a couple of these case studies, Mary Growth from Sales BQ, one podcast on the right episode has led to over $100,000 in actual revenue for it, right? I mean,
absolutely.
If you give it the right podcasting ad and you go person to person, it's lights out. And it's lights out. I mean, and then you wrap in the whole pre-rolls and just keeping the awareness up. If you have a really highly engaged audience, I mean, that's showing that people are definitely resonating with those extra ads as well. It's just a different way to live, man.
That's exactly it. So if we take it we just talked micro there. Let's go macro for a second. TV, back before TV, the radio, right? Radio was the place to go. People consumed sports games, talk shows, whatever it is on the radio. Then the TV came out and TV was starting to run ads there where you got the Cokes of the world, the Pepsis, like the real big guys, your clothing companies running that. Then we took the TV and said, well, that's not good enough. Let's put it on this little, 2x4-inch device that we carry around all day called the phone, right? Yeah. So we did that. Now what we're seeing is, well, we skipped the whole fixing the radio thing. So now what we're seeing is podcasting, I think, is going to replace the radio. And even cars nowadays, some of them aren't even having radios installed in them. They just don't exist.
They have Alexa in there, bro.
Exactly. They got this AI voice-driven kind of thing. And because of that, what ends up happening is you have to focus on that new market, which is podcasting. How can we run advertising? How can we get good brand awareness in that platform? Because TV's now no longer the place to be long-term for the small guys, right? Unless you got $1 million and you're spending it on the Super Bowl commercial for 15 seconds, you're not doing it. So podcasting is going to be a huge thing. And then your traditional consumer ads, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, right? So absolutely podcasting is going to be probably one of the best ways to do business-to-business marketing going forward. Absolutely.
So Here's I think that this we could possibly break the actual system here. For guys who are like yourself, because you're doing 100 episodes in 100 days, right?
Yep.
I mean, and you're just getting into podcasting. You've been doing it now for how long? A couple months?
Yeah, less than a month. Yeah,
less than a month. All right, bet. What you're going to notice next year is that you'll be booked out for 2021.
Yeah, I'm sure.
If you want to be. So here's my thought: is that because quality podcasters are going to start getting so many requests, I think that we should start charging people to actually be guests on the shows just for the access.
Yeah.
And
well, here's the thing: is you're paying for. You go to a trade show, you're paying for access, right? You go to a sales event or a marketing event, you're paying for access, right? So in the podcasting space, there's going to be pay per access, and then you can plug it, right? So if you go to these nightclubs, these fancy kind of restaurants they have events at, you pay to get in.
Yep.
And then you pay to have Bacardi's brand sitting right there at the front door, right? You're paying for those two things. The podcasting world's going to be the exact same thing. You're going to pay to show up and you're going to pay to play, right? Those are going to be the two different things.
Dude, man, I think it's going to be one of those really interesting years because people that aren't doing these type of actual efforts, right? Now, whether you dominate LinkedIn or whether you dominate TikTok or wherever your audience is that you have to be, right? If you aren't taking these measures, I really don't know how you're going to function within 3 to 4 years. Right. I mean, because if you don't have a podcast or you don't talk to your audience somehow, some way, whether that's billboards or whether that's Facebook ads, whatever you're doing as a salesperson, even if you're not personal branding, I don't know how they're going to exist in the future, man. I mean,
I 100% agree with you. So here's how I think that's going to get fixed, right? Dynamically, it's going to eliminate the weak. And it's like natural selection, right? Yeah. If you have a small business and you're still doing 2005 techniques, unfortunately, you haven't learned yet and you haven't had enough pain yet. So you're not going to get to the next level, right? And that's not to say you suck at business. And those people are, I'm sure, great business people. But if you can't keep up with the trends, you're gonna feel it, right? So if you're on Facebook, I just talked to a lady today who runs primarily Facebook ads. She's thinking of switching careers because she's saying the cost per ad is going through the roof. And I said, you got to adapt. Everybody's running Facebook ads. Of course, the price went up. You used to be able to spend $10 a day on Facebook and absolutely crush it. Now, you can't. $10 a day, you can't sell anything at $10 a day, right? Sure. So that's why you got to adapt and go to the next level. And the way that that's going to happen, honestly, is going to be the companies that can't figure it out are going to disappear. So you're going to see a lot of these small businesses kind of not really make it anywhere or be pretty stagnant. And then you're going to see some hyper growth, right? We're seeing the first $1 trillion companies. We're seeing lots of millionaires, multimillionaires that are being formed today from online businesses. And at the end of the day, podcasting, your reach is unbelievable, right? Like people don't even understand how big the reach is, because when you cast out the 10 different platforms plus the social networks, you're going to have 1 million views.
Man,
it's the weakness.
Man, and even with the actual 1 million views, that's one, but the depth that you get, right?
Yeah.
So talk about how your first couple, outreaches have been with other people as you're trying to get them booked on your show. How's that?
So here's the real cool thing about what the prospecting system that we created. Yeah. Which we're like, wow, this is going to be good for selling some other stuff, right? So we're going to get some introductions, build a network, sell some other products. We flipped the script there, and I know you and I talked a little bit about this. Like, how can we get the right people interested in podcasting with us, because we want to grow the network? Mm-hmm. So we retrofitted the whole system. We built the prospecting system around podcasting. How can we introduce people? How can we get them on the podcast? How can we invite them to be sponsors? How can we do a 15-second plug for them? What is it going to take to get the right people at the right time? And the prospecting system's 100% the way to get there. Now you can sit there and open up your LinkedIn or open up your email and be inundated with 50, 60, 70 people that are like, let's chat, right? Or you can go to another trade show and go, run your butt around for 5 days or 4 days, hoping that you can get some stuff done. I personally would much rather sit at home and have great conversations 24/7 than sit on, my 20th Southwest flight of the year to go somewhere in the United States for 2 days, right? Yeah, so that's where I think that's really where it's going to go. And I mean, at the end of the day, for anybody who's listening, if you have a podcast and you want to hook up with the Real Value Exchange or anything to do with Joe, hit him up, because he's, you're blowing up right now. And I think that that's going to be a great opportunity for you guys to link up and talk about what you got going on.
Appreciate those plugs, man. I do. I mean, matter of fact, I'll plug away myself, the Real Value Exchange, building out the whole network. I mean, because really, I'm passionate about this, and obviously, me and you've been jamming, me and you've been talking about it. I love your tool and lots of the theories that I'm hacking away at and trying to get the podcast to set up. It's a very nice marriage, man. So I mean, please tell people how to find you as well. Tell them how they can learn more about doing your actual systems as well, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have two different places you can go. If you want to learn about the system itself and watch a little video on it, you can go to syntax.com. That's syntacz.com. If you want to listen to the podcast, which you'll probably have some segments here from Joe as well, that's theprospectingshow.com. That'll redirect you to Anchor, and then you can choose, your favorite way to listen to it. And that's really the two ways to do it. Other than that, if you want to email me, Connor@syntax.com, Connor@syntax, syntacz.com. And I'm happy to hook you up here, introduce you to Joe, if you haven't already met him, get you on the show there and show you a little bit about the prospecting tool.
Dr. Connor, you are a straight assassin, man. It is one of those things that I saw as soon as we linked up in Pittsburgh. I was like, this guy is going to dominate the actual industry. So, man, and you're off to the races, brother. So,
thanks. Really appreciate it.
For the rest of this year and next year coming too, man.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
No, man. Thanks for coming on the show, brother. We're out.